So this is going to be the first session of modern anomaly and novelty detection of the workshop that we're going to have. So for all these workshop, the thing is we are going to record some session, and this is going to be the first one. And so you can see it in your home and with your own pace. And then if you have any question, I guess at the first half an hour of the workshop, we'll try to cover it. And then we'll try to implement some of the idea that we're discussing here. And we'll try to, based on the question and all those things, we'll try to add more stuff and then get some feedback for this for like next session. So first session. This, as I said, is going to be an overview of what is anomaly, what is novelty detection. So detecting outlier is like one of the core problem in machine learning, especially because of that amount of growth in all the data that we have, and because of all those applications that you can see out there. So that's why recently you can see lots of attention around novelty detection, anomaly detection, or all those things. So first thing first, I guess we should start with the definition. What is anomaly? If you look it up in Oxford Dictionary, it would say that it's something that deviates from what is standard or normal or expected. So it basically means if you have something which is different from what you have already, that might be anomaly. And people are referring to that with different name, like outlier or novelty or out of distribution or rare event. And all of them can kind of refer to the same concept, which is like anomaly. And here we are trying to see what is anomaly, how can we find them, and then what are the application for them, and why we should care about them. And the thing is, all these anomaly can be generated using some error, some machine error, some human error, like when they are doing data entry, or sometimes it can be just a result of something that you haven't seen before, some previously unknown like underlying process, or it can be something like fraud, that people are trying to fake something, try to make a new data that is kind of similar to your data, and the whole thing of anomalies to be able to detect them and to be able to find those outliers. And these are the definition and the way that we can refer to it. And if you want to see what it look like, it can be kind of similar to some of the picture that you can see here. So as you said, anomaly are pattern in the data that do not conform to the well-defined notion of normal behavior. Anomaly can have different types. They can be point anomalies or global anomalies, which means they are like a single instance of data that they are like too far from the rest of the data. Like here in the left picture, you can see that O1 is like far from the rest of the data, and the density of samples in that area is super super low, so it's like a super sparse. And that's why maybe we can say that maybe O1 is not like the rest of the data, maybe it's outlier, maybe is anomaly. And maybe you can say that you can say the same thing about O2 or even O3, because the amount of data there is small, but and it's like a sparse. And maybe all those points in O3 are anomaly as well. And you can define it based on your threshold that you have to define whenever you are doing outlier detection or anomaly detection. The second type of anomaly is what you can say contextual like anomaly. Those kind of anomaly that they are not anomaly by themselves, but they are anomaly because of the context that surround them, because of the value that goes like one before them or after them. Like just an example can be all those time series data. If you have a change of pattern or behavior in any kind of sequential data, you can maybe call it like it can be like a contextual anomaly. As an example, like for the global one, if you just have if randomly you have in your credit card you have a cost which is maybe $10,000, maybe that's anomaly because it's not like the rest of it, and you don't have any number similar to that in your credit reports. So maybe that's a number which is not similar to the rest of them. And for the contextual one, it can be something like in a stock or in a temperature. Like here in maybe in Canada in January, if you see a, like a drop of temperature to, I don't know, minus 50 or I don't know, something like that, you can say it's not usual. Or if it's like a super warm in, like if it's super warm, it's like maybe 20 degree right now, you can say it's not normal for January to be like a 20 degree. But maybe it isn't normal in summer, but not in winter. So you can say that if all the previous like number are super low, and having suddenly a warm day is not normal anymore, and based on the context, you can say maybe it's anomaly. Same thing can happen in a stock market. Like the price of Apple in the stock market can be a number, and suddenly because of one incident, like even it can be a tweet from one of the CEO, or it can be one report about that company, then you might see a jump or a spike in this stock, and then you can see maybe having Apple with the $300 is normal if it is around 300 all the time. But if it's like suddenly if it's like a 400, maybe it's not normal, but within a year that 400 can be again normal because of the context. So the same thing is like that. The definition of anomaly can be different and can be based on the application that you're using. Sometimes you're looking for a global anomaly, sometimes you're using for a contextual anomaly, and based on the task and the application, you're looking for different things. And based on these description, all the things, you can say that you can say you will need different method, different algorithm to be able to find different anomalies. So anomalies. Sometimes anomaly can be it can be clearly visible, like in that sequence of numbers. You can say that, oh, for sure, that bold number is outlier because it is not like the other numbers. Or even in that picture, you can say that, oh, that red apple is outlier, is anomaly because it's weird. And the thing is, it is like obvious, and you can easily point it and say that, okay, that one is different. But the problem is, it's not like that all the time. Yes, and if the data is like one-dimensional or something like that, it might be easy. But when you have thousands of observation or multi-dimensional data, we'll need more clever ways to detect those values. And this is why we have this workshop, and this is what this workshop will try to cover. How can we find something different in your data when it's hard to actually catch it, when you are dealing with multidimensional data or you have lots of sample or example of your data. And one of the and the thing is, one of the two important characteristics of anomalies, they are different from the norm, and they're rare in a data set. So these are the two characteristics of anomaly: being different and being rare. So what is the application? Why we do care about them, and where can we use them? There are lots of applications for anomaly detection. Intrusion detection or fraud detection is, I guess, one of the famous one, which you can use it in bank, insurance, whenever they're dealing with anything, when they want to catch fraud or intrusion, like for network, and whenever they're trying to find any kind of things that can happen in a network. So in fraud detection, if a card is stolen, the buying behavior of the card will change, and then we'll notice an abnormal buying behavior. And so the same thing can be happen. We can say the same thing for unauthorized access in computer network, which result in some unusual pattern. And detecting this abnormal or outlier pattern is essential and for the network and for any kind of like insurance or bank to be able to catch all those fraud. The other thing is for industrial damage detection. Sometimes they're measuring lots of numbers, like a sensor from a device, and to be able to say that, okay, if that device is working properly or not, or if that device needs attention, they're recording lots of numbers and sensor, and to be able to say that something is wrong is like you have to have kind of like some way of saying that, and that concept will be like outlier detection, anomaly detection, something that you haven't seen, or you're not expecting something bad happen, and if that happened, you don't know how it will happen, you just know it's not normal. The other thing is like in medical and public health, like in healthcare, which is one of the I'll say it's one of the important thing in like in human life right now. Because like in insurance they call like it's like FW, like fraud, waste, abuse, which actually is one of the major costs for all those insurance companies. It will kind of cost them like billions of dollars per year, all those fraud in healthcare. And if you can kind of find all those fraud, then you will be able to decrease the cost of the healthcare. And because that will be one of the major things that can happen in healthcare. The other thing in healthcare is, let's say, all those devices in hospital that they are recording, let's say, like ECG signal, or even sometimes your smartwatch. Sometimes they're recording ECG signal, and the thing that they can say is like, if you're having a heart failure, if your heart is not is not normal anymore, maybe you're doing something or something is happening, and it can alert and say that, okay, something bad is happening, and maybe that patient needs attention in the hospital. The other thing is like for image processing or in sensor network. And the other cool, I guess, cool application is like fake news or even fake image, fake videos, which recently got lots of attention, because in recent times, social media, which has given a platform for people to spread fake news, maybe. Sometimes it's super difficult to tell the difference, what is real, what is fake. And one of the application of all those outlier detection or fraud detection is to be able to tell the difference between what is real and what is fake. Or sometimes you just want to clean your data and to kind of improve the data quality so you can have a better model performance later on. So there are lots of application. So it's not just limited to that. And if you wanna just show you some picture, it can be like, given all this camera in the city, if you have kind of like anomaly detection, you should be able to detect some illegal traffic flow. Or if you have image of, let's say, MRI, you should be able to maybe find some pattern. Or if it's an image from retinal, then you should be able to kind of detect the retinal damage. Or if it's like a signal, or for IoT devices, for network, there are lots of application. Or like detecting anomaly can even help like in predicting accident in traffic for autonomous driving cars, because they have lots of sensors, lots of cameras, and one of the way that you can say what something going on is what kind of finding something unusual, and then you can maybe alert the driver and say something going on which is not normal and I need attention. So the driver, they should take over. And this is the thing that sometimes they're doing whenever they're kind of making a model for autonomous driving. And so we now have like as I said, a smartwatch that's in anomaly in the heart in different places in traffic pattern, and they also use to identify bottleneck in network and traffic and servers and all those things. So there are lots of application for it, and that's why it recently got lots of attention because they have lots of data, and one of the things that you want to know is if something is not normal. The other reason that I kind of interested in that topic is, as the book says in Thinking Faster Than Slow, is because of system 1 and system 2 of our brain. Which means like humans, if you actually think about it, it's like humans are always watching for something weird or out of ordinary. Our brain is in constant state of anomaly detection. And as the book says, uh, system one and system two are like two different methods or modes of decision making. System one is an automatic, fast, and is often unconscious way of thinking. Is efficient. It just needs little energy or attention, but it can be biased or make systematic error. But system two is effortful, slow, and controlled by thinking. It's like sometimes you're driving home and we don't even thinking about it. You will get there, and then you're like, how did I get here? It means because they're saying that system one take over all the things that you have to do, and you're not even thinking about it. But if something unusual happen, the system one of the job of system one is just say that, oh, something unusual is happening, and then it will let the system two to take over. And in that book is saying that system two, which is thinking, reasoning, planning of the brain, is like super lazy. It doesn't want to work that much. But that's why most of the time is relying on system one to do all the things, unless something needs attention, and then the system two will take over and it will start actually thinking or doing something. So even in our brain, we have anomaly detection, and it's part of the system one, which is one of the core part of the brain, which means because it's like how we can say that we are safe or we can do something fast, and it's because once we have a pattern for it, and then we'll try to follow the pattern. And that's why we have a dedicated part in the brain that its job is to say that, okay, something is not right right now. And that's why the brain should start thinking, should start reasoning. And one of the reasons that I'm talking about system one and system two is this year Benju has a presentation at NeurIPS, which was super interesting. And he was talking about from system one deep learning to system two deep learning. And his idea was most of the thing that we are doing in machine learning is similar to system one, which means given an input data, we are trying to map it to like maybe a label. It's just like a prediction or detection or all those things. Is like we are trying to learn some general pattern from the data, and then once we have a new data in the test, we'll just apply this pattern and we'll come up with a result. Is like a system one in your brain, which is fast and is like a kind of, we can say, is automatic. But as I said, even like our system one, it can be a bit sometimes biased, or it can actually make lots of like systematic error because it will just learn general pattern. And it says, as Venture said, that you have to kind of move from system one to system two, which means you have to like even attention is like attention mechanism in neural network. It means sometimes instead of just looking at the input, you have to say that, okay, something is not. Maybe you should have like maybe two systems. System one will try to map input to a target, and we should have maybe anomaly detection that will say, okay, something is wrong about this input, and it will need more attention. Maybe we should have another procedure for it to make it to be maybe a bit more similar to our brain. And that's one of the reasons that I'm saying that even that anomaly detection is like a super interesting topic, because it's not just about the application that I said, and maybe it's the next step in machine learning.